is the most important chapter. 1963-64. And if you can comprehend this, when I first arrived in the South, in Mississippi, people were still being hung. And I remember, you know, I'm 24, 25 years old. I look like I'm 16. I'm driving a car that's way out of place. It looks like Moby Dick, a big Lincoln Continental, and I'm the setup for any cop in there thinks that this white kid is coming down from Baltimore, from the east, to register African Americans to vote, which made it very dangerous for me. But I'm having this conversation in this restaurant, and somebody's saying something along the lines. He said, you know, son, you know, they're still hanging people there. Well, think about a kid from the north with no real, I understood, you know, the whole race situation, but it was a different country that I went to. Alabama, Mississippi, all of these, Tennessee, Virginia, all of these places, but particularly the ones in the deep south. And it's left me with an impression that even today, which worries me, we've returned to some of those things. And I'll give you an example. And it's funny because at the time, I think some of the coaches, not Shula, but some of the coaches didn't believe me. I said, basically, you have Tennessee, you have Alabama with Bear Bryant up in this big, tall, a kind of derrick thing looking down on the players. And I remember saying, well, I went to Alabama, I went to Tennessee, I went to Virginia, I went to Georgia. They're all white, but they're not as good as the people at Grambling or Texas Southern or many other, Alcorn A&M, Georgia State, Southern University. I said, Jesus, these guys are better than what I'm seeing. Of course, I couldn't say to the coaches. In particular, I would go to Vanderbilt and then Tennessee State that had all the great players, Too Tall Jones, you name them. And this legendary coach that would say to me, Bell, you look like Kennedy, but you come here, these are the real prospects, forget that shit down the street. And you would look at it and you would say, and I'll never forget this, Prairie View A&M is out in the middle of Texas. They had a player that I believe, and Ron's a voter for it, the Hall of Fame, Otis Taylor was one of the best receivers I've ever seen. You know who. And I remember going to this night practice. No meals. You just got delivered before you practice like an orange drink and a ham sandwich. The lights, you could barely see the players. Dusty field, everything. And I saw this person that was like a ghost. He would run these different patterns, and I would say, my God, I've never seen a receiver like this. Now remember, Ray Perkins, who I drafted and went on to coach and was here, was at Alabama. We had already drafted him. And there were a lot of good receivers. But the players I saw at the African American schools, then they called them the black schools, were just something different. And so therefore, when I came back and talked about them, you have to convince coaches. Remember then, if you were black, you would usually go in the 3rd or 4th or 5th round. Those very same players today would be first-round draft choices. So it was the whole dichotomy. What was the South like? What were the things that you would see? What were the things that you would deal with that were really, really difficult? And if you weren't careful, I used to say every night when I went to bed, in one of the Holiday Inns, wherever it was, I hope I don't wake up tomorrow and end up face down the Chattahoochee River, because that's what it was like. You go to Georgia, and the coach would say, Bill, you better get the hell out of here, because they threatened to blow up the ROTC building, which was right next to the practice site. And so that whole flaming 60s, and I'll leave you with two of these stories that are in the book. One,